Hi friends, welcome to the last day of library and school for the year 2020. We're going to get to say goodbye 2020 and hello 2021. So it's your last day of library, and I will certainly see you guys in the hallway, but the next time I see you in class, you will be third graders. Wow. Can't believe that. All right, chapter 21. Okay, all the kids survived, right? Now, not all of the kids in the prairie, probably. There were some kids that didn't make it, but our group of boys survived by hollowing out part of a big haystack, right? And crawling into it, which is so smart. All right, smart and brave. Okay, chapter 21. They went back down to the creek to kill King Rattler, right? All right, let's see what happens to him. The boys all waited. John's heart pounded. And then it appeared from the bushes an enormous frog. It looked at them with its bulging eyes. Croak. They all cracked up and watched the frog hop away. And now it was getting late and time to head home. "We'll be back for you, King Rattler," Peter shouted. They headed back to the pond, shoulders bumping, smiling and joking as they limped along. They said their goodbyes, and John made his way back toward the farm. He breathed in the smell of new grass and fresh dirt. Soon he and Pa would be planting their wheat field. If their crop was a good one, they'd have enough money to start building a real house made of wood, with 2 rooms, practically a castle compared to the soddy. There'd be more work than ever as they readied their field. John thought nervously about what the spring and summer could bring. Thunderstorms, hail, prairie fires, funnel clouds, grasshoppers. Dakota was a harsh land, but they were staying here, at least for now. Ma and Pa had talked about leaving in those terrible weeks after the blizzard. John had heard them whispering softly at night when they thought he was asleep. That storm had terrified his parents. They'd been so desperate to find John and Franny that Pa had gone out into the storm. He'd realized his mistake right away. Within 5 steps, Pa was completely lost in the white swirl. He stumbled blindly, and then he heard a bell clanging over the roaring wind. It was Ma, standing in the doorway, leading him home. Leave or stay, leave or stay. Ma and Pa weren't sure what to do. They'd poured every cent in their hearts into this farm. And what would they do back in Chicago? Pa had left his job. How would they pay for an apartment? How would they buy food? They couldn't plant a wheat field in Chicago. Their neighbors in the city had never visited with pies and eggs and jars of jelly. This would be their one and only chance to own a farm. And so finally, Ma and Pa decided to stay put. And John was glad, because how could he leave the guys? There'd be more storms ahead, John knew, but somehow they'd all made it through the blizzard. Whatever was coming, they would face it. Maybe that's what it meant to be a pioneer. John was about halfway home when something caught his eye, maybe 20 feet to the side. It was a snake, a massive snake. John stopped breathing. Could it be? It was King Rattler. The giant snake had stretched out in the grass. His diamond skin gleamed. His tongue flickered in and out. Moving very slowly, John lifted Pa's rifle. He took aim at the giant snake. Imagine what the guys would say when he brought them the Rattler. John put his finger on the trigger. He steadied himself. King Rattler didn't move, and lying there, he actually didn't look that fierce. He looked like a very old snake trying to soak up some last rays of sun. John wondered how long had that big snake been on this land. A very long time, longer than any of them. Suddenly it seemed wrong. to John that this old snake would be gone. He lowered the gun and walked quickly away. They'd have to think of a different present for Miss Rule. John walked a mile more, his feet aching. Finally, he saw their soddy in the distance. He spotted Ma digging in her garden, getting it ready for spring planting. Franny was dancing around outside. Shadow and Princess grazed on tender green sprouts. Pa was on the roof of the barn, patching up the last of the winter holes. He saw John and waved. The afternoon sun had turned the brown grass bright gold. Whoosh! The warm breeze blew, pushing John along. Whoosh! It seemed to whisper gently into his ear, "You are home." Okay, that is the end. And I personally love how it ended because let's face it, guys, some of you like snakes. Most of us are very creeped out by them. But I guess I would kill one if I had one in my house. And I have had them in the house, but I never caught them. But if they're outside, I let them go. Because they have their place in this world, and it's not my place to kill them, right? It just isn't. All right. So let's read this real quick. My Prairie Journey. Dear readers, close your eyes and imagine that you live in a tiny dirt house, crammed into one room with your family. So in his family, there were 4 people in one room. You look out the window and all you can see is flat, empty land covered with tall grass. Your closest neighbor is an hour's walk away. Through land infested with rattlesnakes, you live in fear of the dark clouds that suddenly appear in the sky, bringing thunderstorms and blizzards and tornadoes and even billions of grasshoppers. Well, this was the real life of hundreds of thousands of people in the late 1800s and early 1900s. They were pioneers. They traveled west to build farms on America's prairie, the vast stretch of flat, grassy land, mostly in North and South Dakota, Montana, Minnesota, Nebraska, and Kansas. Many had been living in cities or towns in the East. Others came from Europe. They came with dreams of building farms and making better lives. What they found was hardship. Most pioneers, also known as homesteaders, gave up on their farms just after a few years. The biggest challenge was the weather. Few areas of the world have more extreme weather than parts of the American Midwest, especially in the north. The summers are boiling hot and often bone dry. Winter temperatures can plunge to minus 30 degrees. Spring brings thunderstorms with pounding hail and tornadoes. All right, so that's enough about that. Some more brave people, pioneers, who ventured all the way out to places they had never seen before, just to have some space, right? Okay, I think I showed you this picture, but I will show it to you again. It's an American pioneer family in front of their soddy, and they're probably very, very proud of that house. All right. Okay, so I'm going to take another minute to introduce you to a new series that maybe you'll want to read in the 3rd grade. It's called The Spiderwick Chronicles. Okay, I have the whole series in the library. I will read you just a little bit of it, all right? So that maybe when you get to 3rd grade library, you might want to pick up a Spiderwick Chronicles. I don't know how many there are. This is book 1. I think maybe like 8 of them. And they're not very long. And they are very, very appropriate for 3rd grade. Okay? There's like about 90 pages or so. All right. Okay. So it's about this family that moves to this house. Looks like a mansion, doesn't it? All right. Chapter 1, in which the Grace children get acquainted with their new home. The Spiderwick Chronicles. The Field Guide is book 1. And It is by Ditter Lizzie and Holly Black. Okay. If someone had asked Jared Grace what jobs his brother and sister would have when they grew up, he would have had no trouble replying. He would have said that his brother Simon would be either a veterinarian or a lion tamer. He would have said that his sister Mallory would either be an Olympic fencer. Anybody know what a fencer is? Has to do with the sword. Or in jail for stabbing someone with a sword. But he couldn't say what job he would grow up to have. Not that anyone asked him. Not that anyone asked his opinion on anything at all. The new house, for instance. Jared Grace looked up at it and squinted. Maybe it would look better blurry. It's a shack, Mallory said, getting out of the station wagon. It wasn't really, though. It was more like a dozen shacks had been piled on top of one another. There were several chimneys, and the whole thing was topped off by a strip of iron fence sitting on the roof like a particularly garish hat. It's not so bad, their mother said with a smile that looked only slightly forced. It's Victorian. Simon, Jared's identical twin, didn't look upset. He was probably thinking of all the animals he could have now. Actually, considering what he'd packed into their tiny bedroom in New York, Jared figured it would take a lot of rabbits and hedgehogs and whatever else was out there to satisfy Simon. Okay, here's Jared. And here's Simon. They're twins. All right, I'm about to sneeze. Okay. Come on, Jared, Simon called. Jared realized that they had all crossed the front steps and he was alone on the lawn staring at the house. All right, I'm going to show you the door knocker. Are you intrigued? I am. I don't think I've actually read this whole book all the way through, so maybe we'll read it together in 3rd grade. I think maybe some of you have seen the movie. So I want to hear more. All right, boys and girls, that's it for me. Everyone have a wonderful Christmas break. You all have been an amazing class. I just have loved having you in library. You guys are all such readers. Ellis going through all those graphic novels and Charlie Owl reading Wayside Stories. You guys, Blayton, every one of you have just done such a great job. I'm so proud of you guys. All right, everyone have a wonderful Christmas break with your families. Be good to your parents. I'm sure they work really hard. And I will see you guys in 2021. Bye.